and only talk happy things, right? Happy things. Look at Stoops. Look at Stoops at Kentucky. You know how by the numbers, as a head coach, on field, based on the talent schedule, he's a little bit above average.
Right.
But the talent profile, from 14 to 17, 2014, 2017, the Kentucky Wildcats had 5 rookies in the NFL in that 4-year period, just 5. And here we are 10 years later, 2020 through 2023, they've gone from 5. The last 4 years, they've had 15. Now, that 15 number is the same number as Ole Miss and the same number as Mississippi State. So as much in that the numbers say as a head coach on the field, he's a little bit above average. His recruiting profile and the talent transformation at Kentucky has been pretty stellar. So, that was kind of one of the big plus nuggets out of the SEC that I found in terms of looking at the talent transformation of a program. Outside of Georgia, you probably haven't seen a bigger one over the last 10 years than Kentucky has done with Stoops.
Okay, so Stoops is driving more players to make an NFL roster at Kentucky, which has been a problem because Mississippi State has been matched up with them, and they've gone through all kinds of turmoil and a super crappy hire with Moorhead and so on. So, and a coach dying. So, all right. So Stoops has done a good job raising that number and that bar. Good for him. Talk about Kirby's jump, Bartoo, from Richt to Kirby, as far as guys from Georgia making an NFL roster as a rookie.
Ooh, I think there's 2 stories here, dude.
Okay.
I think there are 2 stories here. Before I get to Happy Dave, let's go back to Real Dave. This is the party pooper side of it. Mark Richt might be one of the biggest overrated recruiters in the numbers, right? Because he got great classes. Georgia's the only program in the country that has popped a top 10 class every year this century. Only one, right? So when Mark was there, he was popping top 10 class after top 10 class. I know I've been on the show and I talked about, man, Georgia's the only program as the top 10 recruiter this century that hasn't won a national title. But then you start diving into the number of guys being put into the NFL, and he was getting the classes. He wasn't getting the talent. Now, there's another head coach maybe we won't get to today, maybe next week, that might be the biggest recruiting fraud, star chaser of the last decade or two. But Mark Richt might be the second guy, because from 14 to 17, from 14 to 17, Georgia had 12 rookies in the NFL. From 14 to 17. From 2020 to 2023, they went from 12. 20 to 23, they had 52 rookies in the NFL. 52.
Damn.
Right? Now, you remember just a second ago, I just said Kentucky was at 15. Ole Miss was at 15. Mississippi State was at 15. Georgia has more rookies in the NFL in the last 4 years than those 3 programs combined, and they're all top 25 recruiters, right? 10 years ago, that 4-year period, they were only at 12. So I think Richt was a little bit of a star chaser. I think his guys got overvalued, and he really wasn't putting guys in the NFL. And I think maybe the biggest thing that Kirby is doing is the evaluation process of separating the quality 5-star from the lesser quality 5-star. And I know we're kind of talking a thin line here because we'll all take every single 5-star, right? We'll take all the 4 stars. But I think Kirby is doing a incredibly better job than Mark Richt ever did at finding that talent. And by the way, the 52 rookies from 20 to 23, that is the most rookies into the NFL in a 4-year period of any program this century.
Damn.
The most Nick Saban ever had in 4 years was 50 guys, 50 rookies in the NFL. So what Georgia has done the last 4 years from a NFL rookie standpoint is better than anybody else I have on record.
Remarkable. How about that? Dave Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show. Look at what Kirby Smart has done at Georgia. And he even trumped Saban's run, Pete Carroll's. from like '02 to '05 or '03 to 06, however you want to run those numbers, '04 to, I know Urban was a machine at both Ohio State and Florida, and Saban was a machine at LSU and Bama. And even LSU was still pumping them in because Bartoo was telling me a couple of days ago, they're almost foolproof down there. It really doesn't matter who. It could be Bartoo and I.
Oh yeah. Look at the numbers at LSU. If you go 4 year by 4 year period, okay? Because we've gone through. Well, what did we go through? Coach O, right? We went through Orgeron. We've gone through. We now have Kelly there, and you had Miles. You've had all this turnover, and you had a national title mixed in there, and you have all these ups and downs. But every 4 year, when you look at these 4 year blocks, LSU is putting 34 to 40 guys into the NFL every 4 years, regardless of who's coaching. I mean, they are in one of the most incredible, just walk around NFL players everywhere states in this country. It is absolutely unbelievable because a lot of people go, think, well, it depends on how you win and how you recruit. And no, a lot of it has to do just with your location. Auburn, Florida, LSU, they just crank out 25 to 40 NFL players every 4 years, regardless of the record, regardless of who's coaching.
What do you make of that? Bartoo on the Out of Bounds show, brought to you by the Ford F-150 truck at Mack Hike Ford, I-55 North in Jackson. What do you make of when you threw out the 10? So all of your teams made sense. Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, LSU, they've been the top 4 recruiters for the most part for years. And then you threw in Michigan, and then you threw in Notre Dame, huge brands. And then you had, it was 8 teams. And then you had Auburn and Florida. What do you make of Auburn and Florida being able to continue to pump in NFL players, players that make the team as rookies yet? Now, Auburn hasn't had near the ups and downs. They've had a little bit of shaky stuff, but Gus was pretty damn good. Florida's been out in no man's land for some time, although Dan had 2 really, really good years. What do you make of Auburn and Florida, Bartoo?
2 things. 2 things. I think it has to do with location.
Absolutely.
At, right. I mean, you're in the Southeast. Where are all the football players in the country coming from? Right. It's Midwest, it's Southeast, a little bit of Texas, a little bit of Los Angeles Basin and California. That's about it. So location, I think, is really important. I think the most important thing, though, is the brand. Right. I mean, it's just range-bound recruiting, and I've said this for
20 years.
10 years that I've been on your show, 20 years, right? It doesn't matter who the head coach is for the most part, is you are going to get, and we just talked about LSU as well, right? I mean, LSU has been a top 5 recruiter for this entire century. We've gone through all sorts of coaches. And as long as you have a decent coach there that maintains recruiting, you're always going to be in the top 5. Florida, you got good coaches that maintain recruiting. Now, they went outside of really their standards and brought in Urban Meyer and made a lot of recruiting concessions to bring in Urban Meyer. And their recruiting went up temporarily, but you got to know the concessions they made to Urban to do that. A little selling of your soul for those national titles, in my opinion. And then Auburn, they've been, every class that they have is 7 to 15. They're right there, top 10 the entire century. So I think a lot of it just has to do with the brand, not necessarily the coaching. It has nothing to do with the results. Look at Texas, right? Texas pumps out top 10 classes every single year for this century, and man, there's some seasons that they're not even bowl eligible. Doesn't hurt the recruiting. So I think it has to do with brand and location more than anything at all.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. Dave Bartoo hanging out with us. Summer college football, and thank goodness it'll be here before we know it. But he started just posting left and right, and it got a lot of traction. And you could tell people were starving for some info and really it ties in recruiting. Like Bartoo said, it's location, recruiting, brand, and then delivering it to the NFL as far as how many of your players make the team as rookies. What about your Oregon Ducks, Bartoo?
They're doing fine. They're doing fine. Look, see, Oregon has never really put a lot of guys in the NFL.
Okay.
Okay. So they're on their last 4 years, so 20 to 23, they've put 20 rookies into the NFL. That's their highest 4-year period of the last 15 years. Okay. So the Ducks are putting guys into the NFL, but not at the rate probably people think they're putting them into the NFL, especially Duck fans, right? The Ducks historically have underperformed draft numbers, rookies into the NFL relative to their recruiting. But they're trending up, and so they're doing solid there. Here's one. Okay, here's a nugget. All right. This one. I put this one out about Florida State and Norvell, and this was, you want to talk about the opposite direction. This is what Norvell had to deal with from 2014 to 2017. Florida State. Now, when did Jimbo go to A&M? Do you remember what year he went to A&M? Was that 16, 15, 16, 17?
No, I think it was 17, Bartoo. Will you look that up,
17.
Ethan or Jackson?
Okay, so from 2014 to 2017, I think you and I would agree, those are all
Sumlins.
Jimbo guys.
Oh, got it. Yeah, Florida State.
No, Florida State. Yeah, was that Bowden? Were those still Bowden guys, 14 to 17? It was probably Bowden recruiting, but from 14 to 17, Florida State put 30 guys into the NFL. Do you know how many guys they put in the NFL from 2020 to 2023? 10. 30 to 10 in 6 years.
All right, let me give you the time frame. Jimbo became the head football coach at Florida State in 2010.
Okay.
All right. His last season was 2017.
So 14 to 17
is Jimbo.
That was Jimbo, right? But then 15 to 18 is Jimbo, and 16 to 19 is Jimbo, and 17 to 20 is still mostly Jimbo's guys. By 17 to 20, they were down to 12 NFL rookies. So he gave up on recruiting way before he left Florida State.
Okay.
And so what Norvell inherited was a shell of Florida State. So over the last 4 years, they'd only had 10 guys that were rookies in the NFL, drafted and undrafted. He had 10 guys drafted this year. So now is Florida State back? No, I'm not a one-hit wonder guy,
right?
But I'm trying to paint the picture of what Norvell inherited relative to where it was just 10 years ago, 6 years ago. It was a much more powerful program. So it shows the potential, but it also shows how long it took. It took 6 years to get to the bottom, and it's taken Norvell, 3-4 years now just to try to turn it and dig it out.
That's impressive by Mike Norvell at Florida State. Wow. Okay.
It is. It's a wonderful trend. It's a wonderful trend, right?
Kirby's is too. I mean, people think it's just easy.
Kirby's is awesome. Dude,
unreal.
52 guys, rookies in the NFL in the last 4 years. That's not even counting what was drafted this year.
That's filthy.
And undrafted guys that are going to make teams. But what's going to happen, though, is I saw this in Alabama. I saw this with Alabama players, is they get overdrafted and overused. So your starts per player out of the Georgia guys are going to drop.
Makes sense.
Okay?
Yep.
Because as a GM, your job is on the line every day. You can't take as much risk maybe as you used to. There's less job stability. So when it comes down to, hey, I'm going to sign guys, I'm going to draft guys late in the draft or third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounds. I'm going to draft guys from programs that my fans. So if those guys fail, my fans go, well, at least you drafted them from Georgia. That was national championship teams, man. Look, all those guys are good, right? If you draft the same guy from Georgia Tech, dude, what would we draft that guy from Georgia Tech for? Of course he's going to fail. You and I both know that's not the way the reality is, but the perception for a GM when he's drafting and when they're bringing guys in. So I saw it with Alabama. Alabama got way overbought. Starts per player started dropping, right? And for just 4 years ago, number of rookies in the NFL, Alabama, 50. They get overbought. They get overdrafted. The last 4 years, it's only been 39. So you get these waves, and I think right now Georgia is overbought on its talent because they've done so well. Not taken away from that, they've done so well. GMs are overvaluing what's coming out of Athens right now.
That makes sense, Bartoo. Okay, Dave Bartoo on the Out of Bounds Show. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort and the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook and Lounge. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. All right, we've got a few minutes here. We had a phone call about it, and you tweeted about it. Hugh Freeze's impact. I think Mullen had a lot of this too, especially his last run. He left Moorhead a ton of NFL talent, but Hugh Freeze driving players to make NFL teams as rookies. Bartoo.
Oh man, dude, it's so funny because I was tweeting about Auburn and how Auburn is top 8 in total rookies in the NFL in the last 4 years, and some troll out of nowhere was like, "Hey, well, what? That Hugh Freeze hasn't been there for that. What the hell did he do at like Ole Miss?" The best 4-year period at Ole Miss in the last 15 years for rookies in the NFL was 2016 through 2019. Hugh Freeze left Ole Miss in 2016.
Right.
So 2016, that was all his guys. 17, 18, 19, pretty much all of his guys. And folks, I don't count transfers. If you take a transfer in and he makes it to the NFL, that ain't your dude. You didn't recruit him, you bought him. That's two different things. Okay? So in transfer portal era, I don't count transfers as your NFL guy because you didn't do anything. You just cut a check. All right? So Hugh at Ole Miss, that was the best 4-year run. 16 to 19, 24 guys in the NFL. Then the next 4-year period, 21. Next 4-year period, 20, 19, 17, down to 15 the last 4 years at Ole Miss. So Hugh did a awesome job getting NFL talent into Oxford. Now he is at Auburn that gets awesome NFL talent.
Regardless,
right? It's another level of recruiting. It's easier at Auburn, in my opinion. They've shown they just get a little bit better of a player. And now you have a head coach that has, in my opinion, proven to be able to get the guys to evaluate and get the NFL talent in there. I mean, if I'm an Auburn fan looking at that going, okay, that's an exciting number. That's fun looking forward as this thing builds.
Dave Bartoo, college football insider on the Out of Bounds Show. He's
insider.
I know you love it. He's posted all this in the last few days on Twitter at CFB Matrix. At CFB Matrix. It's fun, especially this time of year, because he's tying recruiting, brands, location into delivering players making NFL rosters as rookies. I think it's pretty awesome. And Kirby's numbers on the jump from Mark Richt to Kirby Smart is extraordinary. It's insane.
Oh, dude, that is awesome. Now, here's the other thing, though. Where did Mark Richt go after he left Georgia? Miami. And 10 years ago, Miami put 34 rookies into the NFL. And when Mark Richt showed up, guess how many rookies started going into the NFL?
Half.
Dropped right off. Miami only put 12 guys in the last 4 years. So Rick wasn't developing NFL players. He was recruiting stars, but not developing NFL players at Georgia. He was recruiting stars because Miami kept getting top 15 classes, but not putting in. Mario and Norvell had the same problem. They inherited a huge brand that over the last decade had been absolutely eroded and gutted in talent. I just find it interesting that Rick recruited very well, perception-wise, at Georgia and Miami, but was not producing any NFL talent at either place.
Wow. That's just not awesome. I mean,
but it's a story. It's fascinating. It's not good or bad, right? You know, I mean, for all everything that I've ever read, I never met him. Mark's an awesome guy.
Yeah, sure.
When it comes down to the part of finding the talent that he has, it just didn't. It just never seemed to match the recruiting.
Man, that was fun. All right, let's do it again sooner than later, okay?
You know where I'm at. Call me anytime, brother.
All right, dude. Dave Bartoo. He's been posting all this at CFB Matrix. He joined us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. The show is driven by your next John Deere tractor from any ag up equipment dealership in the state of Mississippi. John Deere, America's tractor. Lunch today brought to you by the Greek Wings and an amazing gyro at Aplos in the Renaissance and Aplos in Highland Village. We'll see you tomorrow.